Welcome back. Hola, me llamo Flaco. ¿Tú cómo te llamas?
Welcome to another episode of the Bimmer Podcast. I'm happy that my co-host here had time from his orange selling experience off the highway to come and join us today. And our guest today, Doug from DM Performance. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
Now, Doug, we're here at your shop. We have your drift car in front of us. We'll go into that a little bit later, but how did you fall in love with cars?
So it's a funny story. I started really young. I was about 11, 12 years old at the time, and I used to do martial arts. And the professor, the sensei at the martial art place was a mechanic during the day, and he used to train people how to fight at night. And at the time I was really skinny, bag of bones. And he made a joke. He's like, "Yeah, Doug, I'm gonna bring you to work with me at the shop to pick up some engine blocks, and just so you can put on some weight. You're very flimsy, So I took that serious, and I showed up to his shop the next day, and he's like, "Oh, you're really here?" I was joking. I'm like, "No, I'm serious. I want to learn about cars." At the age of 12, and he taught me a lot of things. How things worked, how an engine worked, and the more he taught me, the more I wanted to get myself into it and learn more. And then I started doing it myself, and he really taught me, everything I know. Because he put the passion into me. That was back in Brazil, because I was born and raised in Brazil, came here at the age of 17. So from 11, 12 to 17, I learned everything with him. I learned the basics from him.
He instilled
he installed that passion
Yeah.
into me, and that's what made me go even further, and like cars even more, and get more into it.
What kind of cars did you, when you were growing up, what kind of cars did you have?
Oh, it was really, cheap cars, like, because in Brazil, you don't see BMWs. You don't see the cars that we have here, like Audis and stuff like that. You see Volkswagens, like the little square ones and stuff like that. At the time,
more everyday cars, more functional also, not luxury.
Right. Like a point A to point B cars type of thing. And, carburetors, I know how to take a carburetor apart. I know how to diagnose a problem with a
Some
carburetor.
of our viewers may not even know what a carburetor is.
Right. So that's where I started. And there, you don't really replace parts. Here it's super simple, like, oh, the engine's shot, just go grab one at the junkyard and swap it right in. There you have to take it apart, and you literally have to make parts sometimes.
Yeah, the MacGyver it.
Right.
You got to make it last.
Yeah, because the availability is,
And especially, I'm sure everything had to be imported.
Yeah.
And you just found ways to save money.
Yeah. And that's how you learn.
Yeah. Just especially when you're hands-on.
Yeah.
So that's good that you have so much experience from that.
Yeah, it taught me a lot, and I use it every day, believe it or not, because when something goes wrong, I always try to have a solution for it. You know what I mean? But if I didn't have that background, maybe it would be a little bit more difficult for me to find a solution to things like I do now. You know what I mean?
So I didn't know you were Brazilian.
Yeah.
Shout out to all my Brazilian. My boss is also Brazilian.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
No, he's a cool dude.
Yeah, Brazilians.
Was your sensei a Gracie?
No, he was not. But he trained with them. He did train with them. He was
good. So when a customer doesn't pay you, you could just put them in a choke.
I don't give him that option. I take.
That's really nice. Well, that got you into cars.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What was the first cars that you owned?
That I owned?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I had a Fiat back in Brazil. I bought something that had no door. It was, you guys could look it up. It's called Fiat Elba, ELBA.
Okay.
Elba.
It's the ugliest thing you could ever imagine, but that was technically my first car, and I had that thing. I used to drive that thing around at like 14, and then I improved to something else, which is called it's a very famous and known car in Brazil. It's Opala.
Yeah.
We don't have them here. I had a Diplomata, 1984, It was second owner, super clean car. Hopefully I can find some pictures so I can shoot over to you guys. But I had that, and the car was a 4-cylinder. But that car was very known in Brazil because he had an inline 6. But I got one with a 4-cylinder from factory, E85. And yeah, it was a yellow motor. You knew because, you know, they're yellow.
Yeah,
they're painted yellow, they're E85. And I just didn't want the motor. So that's when I started getting into performance a little bit.
So you started modding it.
I swapped the motor to an inline 6. We had to change the motor mounts because, you know,
Obviously, it's a
it's
different
a little
placement.
bit different. Yeah. And how they work is different as well, completely different. And the gearbox, we had to change the differential. There's not a lot of wiring on the car, you know, because you got your coil, you got your carburetor, and that's it. Spark plugs, done. You know, you probably have 10 wires in those cars. And I swapped that out. I dropped the car really low. It was super cool. It had a sound system at the time,
Okay.
and it was nice. Painted the whole car because
Oh, so you went all out,
I went all out.
especially for your first car. But that's where you got most of your experience also.
Right? Yeah. You know, I was paying to learn.
Yeah.
You know, because you know, it's really hard to find a customer that would do all those things. But I wanted to do all those things, so I experienced on my own cars first, and it turned out great.
Awesome.
You know, and I paint too. Like I know how to prep a car. I know how to paint the car. I just hate it because it takes too long.
It takes long.
And I don't have patience with stuff, you know, like I like to get stuff done. Like
That's why you
I
built the
get
drift
into
car.
yeah, like I get into it and I want to get it done right away. With painting is not really like that because you have to prep.
Yeah.
Now you have to sit 2 hours and wait for that to dry. So then you can sand it and, you know, prep again and then finally paint on like a week later. You know what I mean? So it's like, but I know how to do it, you know.
Awesome. So it's safe to say that you're a jack of all trades.
I could say that. I
Okay.
could say that.
Very cool.
So when did you move to into America?
That was back in 2011, December 29, 2011. That's when I got here. And yeah, I wanted to start a life here and
Now, what was your first car?
here in America.
Yes.
My first car here in America was a Volkswagen Golf.
MK2, MK3?
Don't remember. I can't
Okay,
tell
got
you.
got 'em.
2008 probably.
Okay.
What is that?
That's MK3. I think.
MK3?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had that for a little bit, and then I ended up trading it for a E46, a 4-door E46.
Uh-oh, so that's how you got into the BMW bug.
Actually, I got here in the States, right? And I went to a few shops, like a few of, you know, some Brazilians that opened the door for me. And the very first car that I saw at the shop was an E46. At the time I believe the car was a 2006. So it was a 5-year-old car. So it was super new at the time. And it was really nice. It was blue and I fell in love with the car. I'm like, man, I want a BMW. You know, that's when the passion actually started for BMWs. And then I had that one, ended up selling it later on. And then I got a E90 and kept moving up.
E90 V8 or inline 6?
It was the inline 6. It was a 330.
Okay.
Okay. M52.
Yeah, and 52.
So not mods on that car.
No, that car had no mods at all.
On the E90.
Yeah, no
What
mods
was-
at all.
what
It
was
was
the next
it was
car?
dropped. I had springs, not really much. Had big wheels. The car was, you know, good looking, but no mods.
What was after the E90?
Oh, I had so many cars in my life. So after the E90, believe it or not, I think I had a Charger,
Okay.
a 392. You know, I was working at the dealer already, and a bunch of guys had V8s and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I like the sound of that. You know, I'll get
big
one.
cam,
So I bought
the idol.
one. No, I didn't really do any mods. I didn't have the chance to because this one guy ran a red light and destroyed the car, dude. Like, you know, when you're sitting at a red light, right? And in your mind, you're like, once it's green, I gotta go fast, you know, so I can merge in front of all these people over here. And I was there doing that, right? Light turns green, I go. This guy comes, runs a red light, and destroys the car. Yeah, but after that happened, I bought my first E46 M3. that was right when COVID hit. Everybody was afraid. Everybody was afraid. They're selling things, people losing jobs. It was a mess. And at the dealer that I worked at the time, everybody got furloughed. It was like 25 techs, and I was one of 4 techs that stayed behind working. We barely had any work, so we were working on our own cars. So this one friend of mine offered me the car. I believe I paid, it was something odd, like it was $47.50. He was set on 50, right? For some reason. I think I offered him $4,500. It was SMG, and he was having problems with SMG. And the car had an accident on Carfax. But everybody's just afraid of the accident and
Especially the SMG.
Yeah, so I'm like, look, bring the car. I'm gonna look at it. I'm gonna pull the bumper out and see how bad the accident was, and I will see if I even want to get involved with that. Pull the bumper out. There was not even a single scratch behind the bumper. So I was like, that was just a fender bender, and somebody probably wanted to use insurance and milked insurance.
Yeah.
And the car had a bad
Carfax.
Carfax.
About that these days.
Yeah.
People don't do that anymore.
Yeah. So, yeah, bought the car. I then did the swap to manual, to call that SMG crap out of there because it's just garbage. It doesn't work. I don't care what you do with it. Nothing against it, but it's just for me. I didn't want to deal with the headache and waste time with it. Yeah. So I just swapped into manual. Did the big 3. The big 3 on this cars is the rod bearings, the subframe reinforcement, and the vanos rebuild. On that car, it was the big 4 because I did the SMG as well. So did all that, made the car look good, put CSL brakes on it because it's the floating rotors with the aluminum hub, bigger calipers. Yeah, actual two-piece. Got everything from FCP Euro, and
is that this car today, or this is totally
no, it's not this one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not this one. It was a silver one. I regret to this day for selling the car. It was actually a waffle, that everybody calls, and
I mean, it's bigger. You move on to bigger and better things.
yeah, I think I was into the car for I made good money on the car. I was in it for 14, and I sold it for 25.
Well, it does help that your background is a BMW Master.
Yeah.
How did that come about? I know you moved. You just came to America.
Yeah. So after since I always had that passion for a BMW, that was my end goal. I always wanted to get into a BMW dealer, but it's hard because you don't have scholarship. You can't prove them that
Right.
The only way for you to prove is to get in there and work.
Trial
and
by fire.
you can't work there unless you have those things. So it's kind of really hard. And as soon as I got my green card, became legal, everything was good to go.
See?
I
That's the way you do it.
applied.
I'm a U.S. citizen.
Shots fired.
Where's you from?
Yeah.
So
Gucci.
yeah, as soon as I got my hand on those papers.
Ain't going to Philippines. That's for sure.
We don't
Shout
have
out to all my Philippine.
we don't have extradition there, so we're good.
Yeah, so the first thing I did was apply to a dealership.
Okay.
I applied a bunch of times, online, in person, fill out a paperwork right in front of them. I knew a guy that knew the manager. I tried getting in through that guy, hey, please talk to him. No, I'll go there with you. Let's go. We'll try to talk. The guy wasn't there. I gave him a total of 8 applications until I gave up. I'm like, whatever. I'm not going to try this anymore.
Right.
So I'm working at a general repair shop one day. Actually, one of my good friends to this day, I was working at his shop. I was doing an Astro van, the little Scooby-Doo van.
Yeah.
And I was doing spark plugs on that thing. And you literally have to get in the car. You have to take the center console out, and you have to take that little cover out of the car.
Housing.
Yeah, you take that out. And to get to those spark plugs, man, the last one, you can't see it. It's just by feeling. And I'm pulling that out, and the spark plug breaks inside the cylinder head. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing with my life, man? I got to find myself another job. I was having one of those days. If you're a mechanic, you'll understand exactly what I went through. What the hell am I doing? I need to find a job in construction or something else. I hate this. I hate my life or whatever. I'm going to go back to Brazil. I was being really negative. That was a really down time in my life at that time. I was ready to give up on everything. And I get a call. That was back in 2015, I think. That was just when the companies started switching to put your name, even though you don't have a contact safe, you see like, your name under the number. And I saw BMW of Springfield.
Oh, okay, right here.
Yeah. And I'm like, BMW of Springfield. I was literally cursing when I pull out the phone. Who the heck is calling me now? Like, BMW. So I picked it up. And the guy was like, hey, Doug. I'm like, yeah. Listen, I'm calling here. I'm the manager at BMW, Tino, which really good guy. I'm friends with him to this day. We get along really well. I have your application here right in front of me. When can you come in for an interview? So I dropped all the tools. I'm coming right now. You're available? Yes. All right, on my way.
So you left the freaking Astro van with the spark plug broken in?
I did, yeah. I told my friend, listen, tell this guy to junk this car. There's no fixing it. This thing broke. Unless he wants to put another motor in it, don't do anything with this. Like, I have bigger plans, man. I gotta go.
I gotta go.
So the guy was a really good friend of mine. So he like understood that I had those goals. And I get to BMW. The manager was sitting there. He's like, all right, so tell me how you got into cars. What do you know, right? So he sat with a pen, holding a pen like this. I remember to this day, he was holding a pen to his face like this. And I told him all the story that I told you guys, how I got in. I used to do martial arts. The guy taught me everything. I did this, did that, did this, did that, did that. And after I finished telling him my story, he clicks the pen, pulls the paper, and he goes, what's your uniform size? Shirt, pants? When can you start? That was huge for me,
That was basically
looking back,
the turning point
of
your career.
Yeah, I was like, no way, this guy is gonna give me a job and not ask for anything. He's just believing in what I'm telling him. And I started. That's when I started becoming really clean with the shop, with tools, organization, and doing the job clean.
That was your foundation for what
that was
today.
my foundation, the dealership, because it's tiles. I never worked at a shop that had tiles before, so my bay, I would have my bay, because every tech have their own bay. I'll have my bay super clean. My desk where I had my computer for diagnostics and stuff like that, super clean. And that was, my foundation with BMWs. And from there, they sent me to BMW school, and I learned even more. That's when my brain just opened up to diagging, because at the time I only knew how to work with my hands, how to do mechanical work, pull an engine out, put an engine back in, suspension work. But I wasn't really big into diagnosing things and how, the electrical side of things work. And that's when, I learned a lot at BMW school. And then I was able to put that in practice at the dealer.
That's awesome.
So that was really good.
After you sold your other E46, what was your next car? Because that was up to 2019 after college.
Yeah. So I sold that car and I got, what did I get, man? I had so many cars in my life that I just,
Let's jump into different things. When did you get this car?
So this car, I'm going to backtrack a little bit so this car makes sense. I jumped from one dealer to the other because then at that time I knew the stuff, and then I'm capped. I'm not making any more money. So now that I know my stuff, I'm looking for more money, and because I was making little money, very little money for a mechanic who pulls an engine out and do valve seals at the time was huge at the dealership, you know what I mean? And I would do that making $15 an hour, man. You know what I mean? Things that guys making 40 were supposed to do. And so I jumped around. I jumped to another dealer, and at that other dealer, I met one of my good friends to this day. His name is Serge, and he had a drift car. He had a drift E36 boosted. He took me on a ride one day, and that was just like introducing drugs to somebody for the first time.
Like it was crack.
Crack, literally. And I went on a ride with him. The ride was nothing different than what we did here in Mexico. So I got out of the car and I was like, I'm buying a drift car. Same week, I bought an E36, gutted the whole thing and bought a turbo kit, turboed the car. So I had that and I learned how to drift on that car. It was a cool car. It made, I think, 420 wheel on the 85. But stock ECU, you know, I did just the basics. Little angle kit, welded diff, e-brake. That was it.
Nothing compared to you.
Nothing. So after I sold that car, the way I sold it, I wanted to do it again. I'm like, listen, I want to get something, put money into it, and do the same thing and make a little bit of money on the car. So I bought this car. Still had the drift car. This is 2005. I still had the drift car, the E36. And one of my good friends, you guys probably know him. He imports a lot of cars. It's worth looking him up. Tiago NYC is his Instagram.
I know his IG.
Yeah,
I don't
so
think
it's
I know him
RT.
personally.
It's RT Auto in Newark. He imports a bunch of Brazilian cars, like really, really cool stuff, man. He has like a garage full of them. He collects them.
So we got
It's really cool. I could set that up. It's really cool. His story is really cool too. So, he had this car and he had told me about it. He's like, hey man, I wanna build a drift car, and this car was just sitting there like rotten, and he wouldn't do anything with it because his life is just so busy. And then I was like, hey, listen, I just sold my silver E46 M3. I want to get into another one. How much you want for that car? He's like, for you, what I'm in it for it. Give me $5,000. I'm like, okay, I'm coming to pick it up.
You can't find an E46 these days for
That's
$5,000.
insane.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not even then. Then they were like going for like 12, 14. Yeah. And, you know, I'm just lucky enough to find those deals. I don't know why.
So he really hooked you up.
He hooked me up. But the car was, oh my God. The ITBs, the throttle bodies, they had like literally wire twisted in them. Like not even a clamp. I'm like, where the heck did you get this from?
Well, I guess that's why you paid $5,000 for
Well,
it
like,
too.
whatever. Yeah, so I got, but it was running, driving, everything. It was SMG,
Okay.
which is not a problem, because swap that out, easy, fairly easy. And I was going to rebuild the whole car and put a supercharger kit on it.
Okay.
And sell it again. So I had the supercharger kit sitting, but I had so many other things going on at the same time. And then one of my good friends offered me money for the E36 drift car that I had. Like, man, I don't really want to sell it. It's like, oh, I'll give you this much or whatever. I'm like, all right, here's the keys. Sold him the car. As soon as I sold the car, came home, that was sitting in my driveway. I'm like, you look like a drift car. You know, I already got rid of my other one. So I started gutting the whole thing, gutting it. Yeah, so I took everything apart. The car was down to nothing, just
frame.
Just the frame, you know. And
how long did it took you to build the whole car?
3 years, just under 3 years. Because I was a one-man show at the time. I didn't have a shop, you know. So
You were
I
still
had
at the dealership?
Yeah, I was still at the dealership. So I had to come home, work on that car, on this car at home, take the whole thing apart. So I barely had any time.
Plus, you still had family life to tend to.
Yeah, like this car that's behind the curtains right here. I got this car 20 days ago. Look, and I drove it here. Look how the car looks right now. We're not going to talk about it because, you know, but, you know, engine is already at the machine shop, and
that's F
we're
chassis,
moving.
Right?
Yeah, it's F chassis.
I think that's all you could say.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a 340. I already posted. I'm just not posting it. What exactly I'm doing to make it fast. You know what I mean? But it's going to be fast.
Gen 1.
Gen 1.
So, you know, after you say, you know, I got to make this car drift, you fully got it. What was the first mod that you did into this car?
So the first mod was undressing it. So I undressed the whole car and took it apart. And the car had nothing. No motor, transmission, seats, everything was out. So I started buying parts. Hit up my boy at Drift HQ, Duarte. Like, hey man, got another drift car. I need some parts. I need this, that. And believe it or not, I think that's the same with everybody. When you building a car, the first thing they're gonna buy, what is it? Turbo.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
So I bought the turbo first, and a bunch of other parts like the PPF manifold. I reached out to them. They're in Sweden, and they're like, "Yeah, unfortunately, we stopped making those manifolds." And I'm like, "Please make me one last one." Look, it just works so well. There's nothing out there that works like the stuff that you put in the car. And for what I want to do, I want that manifold on my car. They're like, "Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have the parts anymore," or whatever. I'm like, "Oh, man." So I'm sourcing, other manifolds, and got an email from them a week later. "Hey, Doug, by the way, because what you need, the base of this manifold is the billet runners."
Right.
So they're like, "Yeah, Doug, we found through our stuff here that we have the
one
billet
remaining
runners
set?
for your car, so we're gonna make you another one."
That's amazing.
Yeah, so they made it. Took about 2 months until it finally got here. And then I started doing, I got clutch, I got hoses, at the time I was thinking.
Before getting into that,
Yeah.
why did you stick with this particular motor? I mean, a lot of people drift build 2JZ,
Yeah.
LS.
Yeah, it's a
which are
great
little bit
motor.
more
I love 2JZs, but I built this motor because of 2 reasons. One, BMW is the brand I decided to work with. So I need to have a BMW with the BMW engine. That's number 1. Number 2, I bought a running, good driving car.
Right.
And already had the motor in it. So why am I going to pull the motor out and put something else in it? It already had the foundation.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm just going to keep it. And it's a great motor.
Yeah.
It's a great motor.
Some people say it's a pain in the wallet, or you
A
just
little
gotta
bit.
keep throwing money at it, and then everything will be better.
Yeah. I mean,
you're a shop.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
always an advantage.
Yeah, there's problem with rod bearings, and I'll be honest with you. This motor is stock will give you more problems than the way it is right now. It's making 750, and the only problem I had was it was spitting the shims out, because you got to do valve adjustment and whatever. But I there's a couple of things you could do. In my case, I just tied up the gap a little bit. This motor doesn't really matter like a street car, so I tied up the gap on the shims on the exhaust side, so they stop jumping. And we run Link ECU on this car, so it's a full standalone ECU. And we had the ignition cut rev limiter. So ignition cut, it pops a lot. You hear popping, pop, 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 pop. So it's too much, and that actually pushes the valve open on the exhaust, and then the shim is just floating up top and will get out. So what we did was I tied up the gap and I did fuel cut instead. Fuel cut is cleaner. It doesn't pop, but it sounds so much better, on the fuel cut. And it doesn't spit the shims.
And it's easier on the valves.
Easier on the valves. Easier on everything. The only thing I have ignition cut a little bit is when we run the anti-lag, but it's mild anti-lag. We only do, I think, 4 or 5 PSI.
Well, you also have the nitrous to help spool it. So
Yeah.
that's why you're not reliant on anti-lag.
Yeah.
Can you explain to our audience what the difference between anti-lag and
nitrous?
Yeah.
So anti-lag is, for what we do, is faster, right? For what I do, at least, because my turbo is small. So basically, you want the turbo to be alive. You want the turbo to be lit when you on and off the throttle, because there's a lot of pedaling and drifting. So you clutch in, you use the front brakes at the same time, e-brake, and once you let off the throttle, that the RPM will drop. So if you don't have boost, by the time you need to get back on it, and everything that I'm talking about is happening while the car is sideways. So when you get back on throttle, if you have to build that boost again, the car will just straighten out.
Right.
So you want to, make sure you have boost, keep the engine alive, unless you want to be like on and off brake and pedaling. So you don't have to pedal a lot on the anti-lag. You get back on it, it's already there for you. The power is there. It keeps the boost at like whatever you set it to. I usually set it at like 4 or 5 psi, and he holds the RPM, holds the throttle open for you. You get back, power is there. Nitrous is different. Nitrous you could drop.
The turbo's already spooling, even though you're off the gas when he's on the gas. But if he's in transition, it's just keeping that boost level there.
It keeps it there.
Yeah.
Because if you have to get back on and build that up again, the car will straighten out, or you'll see a little difference on your drift. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not going to be clean. And I have a high idle button on the car too. I hit it, car goes up to like 2,500 RPM idle without me having to touch the throttle. But the nitros is different. The nitros, this, race cars, you keep the RPM high, the idle super high. I keep it at like 1,200. And the nitros, if you hit it from there, we start spraying at like 3,400, I believe. And we shut it off with boost. So once I hit it, it jumps from 3,000 to 5,000 in a split a second. And it cools everything down too. Nitrous is cool, and
So
it's just
how long
amazing.
those nitro last?
My car lasts a lot. It's only a 50 shot. It's only to like cool down a little bit and help spool, which, to be quite honest with you, with the size of the turbo, we don't even need nitros. I don't see myself needing it, because the turbo's always there.
Well, also if you're in a drift event, and because you're semi-pro and you also work with a team.
I work with the team. I work with Diego Higa for 2 years. We're good friends for a few years now.
On the Formula D circuit.
Yeah, and this year we're coming back.
Okay.
So in 3 weeks, I think from
right around the
today.
corner.
Yeah, 3 weeks. We're flying to Long Beach and making it happen again. Last year I worked with Colette Davis, which happens to have the same car as me. It was a cool experience.
Will we see the driver get sick and you take over in last case emergency?
I wish, man. I wish. That's a whole new level of drifting. That's a whole new level. It's insane. Insanely fast. Diego drove my car one day that he was here. And I'll tell you what, he did what I've never done on this car, you know?
It's a different level.
like fourth gear drifting, fourth gear at 140 miles an hour in this car,
That's crazy.
because it's a dog box. So it's really long.
Wait, the do or die.
Yeah, I'm like,
He's
wow.
used to those speeds.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Yeah, going sideways at
Yeah.
a buck over 100 already.
over 100. Yeah,
That's scary.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's funny. Yeah.
That's fun.
Everything is fun right until like you messed it up. But anyway, so I see your interior.
hmm
Can you give us a little bit more details on? It's a beautiful interior. The dashboard, it's
Carbon
amazing.
fiber. Yeah, I mean, while I was building, it wasn't supposed to be what it is today. But then, I kept improving. I was like, you know what? No, I'm just going to go all out. Go all out here. Go all out there. Go all out there. And the interior was one of the things, I wanted to have a carbon fiber dash, not only for the looks, but for weight purposes as well, to keep the car light.
You stitched the car welded.
Nah.
No?
No need.
No
Just
need.
put the cage in it. So you see those bars on the strut tower. That's the only thing I really reinforced. Obviously, the rear subframe.
Right.
But other than that, nothing really. Originally, this car was supposed to go to prospect events.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to do. Do a little bit of Pro-Am, get my license, and then go to prospect. But it just shifted. It took me too long to build a car, and things changed.
So, just for our audience out there, the whole car was built in-house.
In-house, yeah. Like half of the build was done at my garage, in my home garage. The cage, I welded up the whole entire cage at my house, in my home garage with a Harbor Freight welder, which works well, works really good. So The cage was pre-bent when I got it, pre-bent, notched, laser notched, number, everything. It's called cage kits, and they have for a bunch of different cars that you want. They do custom cages. It just works amazing. Comes in a pallet. You take it out of there, and we'll tell you exactly where to put what.
So just like Legos, it gives you all the directions.
Yep. If you know how to weld it, you know how to do it.
Okay.
You know, it's just the prepping kind of sucks a little bit because you got to prep the car and burn off all that,
Sound
the seam
deadening,
sealer,
yeah.
the sound deadening, and but yeah, was done in house. Engine was built in house.
Suspension?
Suspension was built in house
What are you
too.
using as far as the angle kit?
I use BC ER, the two-way adjustable coilovers.
Okay. And that ties into what the suspension arms?
Suspension arms I have on the rear. I believe SPL. It's a long time ago, but I believe it's SPL. In the front, I have SLR. It's just basic stuff, carbon fiber drive shaft.
A quick change diff or not yet?
No. Actually, I didn't do a quick change diff because this gearbox is a Simpsonus, and we have the drop gears. It kind of works like a quick change, but you have to drop the gearbox, which in this car is not really that hard. It's just take the drive shaft out, 4 bolts, shifter.
You may say
transmission
it's
is out.
easy to take a drive shaft out. I'm notorious with drive shafts.
Oh, this one's super easy because everything's exposed.
Ask him how many he has changed.
I'm on my 3rd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So who built your engine?
I did.
Oh, you built?
Yeah, I did. But I brought it to a machine shop, and I told them exactly what I wanted to do on it. They did that, and I built everything. I put everything together.
So how much power is this motor making?
750 wheel.
Wheel.
Yeah.
And how many pounds of boost are you running through it?
About 26, 28.
About 26, I guess. Olay.
So what do you have internal on the engine?
So I have CP Carrillo rods, ACL bearings. The main bearings are stock bearings, stock BMWs, which work really, really good. This pump is a dual pickup pump, and JE pistons, correct gaps. I got the cut ring head gasket, which for what I do works really well. But on a side note, cut ring head gasket on another car that we used, we were able to make a little over 1,000 wheel on a cut ring head gasket.
On a drift car?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Some BMW. And the cut ring head gasket left it at, F56 PSI.
That's 56. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. But,
Um.
keep it at 50 to be safe.
Yeah, at 6 bar, right? That's a lot.
Yeah.
What turbo size do you have, and what brand? And why did you want with that brand?
So it's a Garrett G35 900. I went Garrett because I had a Garrett on my other car, my other drift car, and it works well. It takes.
You're familiar with
beating. Yeah, I'm familiar with it, but on that car, I'm using something else.
Okay.
I'm not gonna go Garrett.
If you don't want to, you stop referencing the car. If you don't want to sell some
Oh
parts,
no,
bro.
I have to put it in there just so you're curious about it.
Fuck. It's so
You have to
annoying.
be curious.
But no, seriously,
well,
what car is
that's gonna, I'm gonna be really proud of that thing once I finish building it. But it's just,
what's your build timeline?
Dude, I want to get ready this year.
Okay,
I want to do one event this year.
so I'm assuming the closer, Beamers United closer, you think it'll be ready by then?
When is that?
November 1st.
Oh, absolutely.
And it'd be cold, and it'll be great boost.
I want to
weather.
do another big event before that too. Florida 2K.
Oh,
Fingers crossed we can make it. But it's just, man, I'm like kicking myself in the butt. I'm looking at the car and I'm like, man, it took me 3 years to build this goddamn thing because I was by myself. Now I have a crew,
It'll be easier.
We're just like, all right, guys, this is what we're doing. I have my advisor, which is really good. He's very good at performance parts, and he knows. I don't have to babysit him like, oh, no, he knows exactly what to get. All right, bro, I just give him the okay. He boom, orders everything. We get parts. The guys get pulling stuff out.
Why did you decide to leave BMW?
There you go. Yeah, that's a good one. Back when I started, right back there in Brazil, when I was in that small shop that I told you guys, learning, about cars that barely drove, always had in the back of my mind, I want to build my shop. I want to have my shop one day. And I actually started buying my tools at the age of 15 there, because I wanted to one day have a shop. Because mechanics, it's different, mechanics in Brazil and here. Here, you need to have your own tools. In Brazil, the shop supplies the tools. However, I started buying because I want to open my shop one day. But things shifted. You know what I mean? You make one plan here today, but God will shift it. And if you go with it, you're just going to succeed even better than your own plans. And that's what I did. And always had that passion, Amy, to have my own shop, but never really had the courage, right? Then having wife, kids, house, mortgage, things to pay, and I'm stuck working for somebody. You know what I mean? Working paycheck to paycheck, because the bills will keep you at a place that you don't want to be. You can't make the move because you're stuck. And that's where I saw myself. And one time, some things happen at the dealer, because I was always the side job guy. I would work at the dealer, and then after hours, I would do downpipe for somebody, install a JB4 here and there, and always doing something. And I used to buy parts from the dealer. And there was one year that I bought like $37,000 worth of parts from the dealer. And they're like, oh, what's this guy doing? He's doing a lot of side work, So they cut the discount. And I had to talk to one of my friends. I was driving home and I had to talk with my friend. I was really mad. I was like, man, this motherfucker is, we're not live, are we?
No.
Yeah? All right.
If you want to bleep that, yeah, we can.
Cool. So this gentleman, I'm like, yeah, man, this people, they cut my discount. They're trying to stop me from, doing my side work and do anything extra. And this guy was like, Doug, let me tell you something. A full-time job will never pay you enough money not to come back next week. And I'm like, what? He just put something in my head that I'm like, now I can't see different. I can't see any different than that. And I'm not going to get too religious, but I was driving home. On the parkway, and I'm thinking about this. I'm meditating this and thinking like, oh, but what if it doesn't work? What if I don't have customers? I got a mortgage to pay. I got a wife and kids to feed. They depend on me.
It's scary.
Yeah. And then a bunch of birds flew in front of me, like thousands of them in front of my car. And then God spoke to me. God was like, look at the birds in the sky. That's a passage from the Bible. Look at the birds in the sky. They don't seed. They don't save food. And even then, our Heavenly Father feeds them. How more important to God are you than those birds?
Amen to that.
And dude, the next day I quit. I didn't have a plan. Did I have a plan?
You just quit. You didn't even.
I just quit.
All right.
I just quit, took my tools, put it in my house, in my garage. And the same side work that I was doing, the same people that used to always look for me to do work for them, that's how I started my business. Awesome. At home. I did a whole year in my home garage.
Look at you now. About to open your second shop.
Shop, yeah.
We're gonna be there.
Yeah.
To support, to show some love.
Appreciate it.
You already know. We support those who support us.
Yeah.
And obviously, we appreciate you having the time for us today here. And the sky is the limit, right?
Yeah, man.
There's no limitation. The only limitation that we have is the one we put on ourselves.
Yeah.
That's why look at this guy here, all fancy and everything already. Fancy water, you know what I mean? So fancy clothes.
When I hit the lotto, I'm gonna buy you a bushel of bananas.
Good. Go ahead, go ahead.
Well, yeah, man. Like,
How I mean, and then you found this place, and how long have you been open?
I've been in this location for a year. So I've been in business for 3 years now.
Okay.
I did a year at home, and then 2 years here, and now we getting this
bigger shop.
other shop, a bigger shop.
So
Yeah,
business is good.
yeah. Business is doing good. I can't complain.
Knowing how the economy is, and not to put doubt in your
Yeah.
head, and finding good help these days, because a lot of young people today are doing this kind of trade work.
Mm-hmm.
How hard is it to find and fulfill those needs that for your
Look at the
customers?
birds in the sky.
Okay.
They don't seed. They don't plant.
Amen.
And God still feeds
just
them.
keep moving along.
Keep
head
moving,
up.
man. Keep moving. You take the step, it's gonna happen.
All right.
You can't be afraid. You know what I mean? Any limitation that you have in your life, it's gonna happen. What you believe grows. So you just gotta be positive about things. Like, I'm gonna tell you one thing, right? You standing from a standing point, try to fall face down with your face on the ground. Physically, you can't make that happen.
You always
Your
gotta fight.
brain automatically will put your hands
Yeah.
to save your face. You know, it's the same thing with life, man. You got to go for it.
All right. Words to live by. Awesome. Well, I knowing my co-host here, we got to get into it. B58, S58, which is the better motor?
Oh my God.
Why are you putting me on the spot?
Listen,
What are you talking about? We have a whole reel of you. B58, B58, B58.
No, but that's true. Like, listen, as a BMW enthusiasm, there's a question that everyone want to know. You know what I mean? Like,
both
everybody's-
motors work really great, right? But it
Oh,
all
there's a but. Let's go.
it all comes down to what car you really like.
Okay.
But me personally, I would not take my B58 and put an S58 in there, which I do have an S58 sitting around. I could easily do that, and it's just
It's a matter of
both work.
Yeah.
Both work really good. Look at the Supras; they hold world records on the quarter
And
mile.
recently, I think they did a 774.
B58,
Yeah.
B58.
Yeah, but B58 is also more old platform. You gotta understand that too. And I'm sure a lot of
my
viewers out
God.
there are gonna be agree with me, because that's true. The first B58 wasn't 2016, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
It was on
yeah.
on a
F30.
30,
Yeah.
40. So you got a lot more knowledge on the B58
So it
than the S58.
It depends. It depends. Sorry to
Because-
cut you off. Go for it. Go for
No,
it.
no, you can cut him off. Go ahead. We already know his
You know
story.
what it is? He's missing this watermelon time.
So it depends how much money you want to spend and what you really want the car for, right?
Okay.
Because out the box, S58 is better to make power with less money,
Right.
right? But you could get the same spot or even further with the B58.
I thought it was the opposite, to be honest.
No.
Because since B58 is not a real M.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Listen, so sport should be cheaper.
I
I might be
appreciate.
wrong. You know what I mean?
Let him.
I appreciate both, to be
But,
honest.
me too. Listen, like I love the 340. Before I bought my M, I was gonna buy a 340.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always been in love with that chassis,
Mm-hmm.
with the F. But I feel like
Going in debt is really worth it.
you know what I mean? I got a good friend that I can say, you know what? Can I sell your Rolex?
No, I don't know what you
That's
keep
it.
referencing. It's
Yeah,
fake.
yeah.
My watch is
Yeah,
fake.
because you want to show it. That's
My
all
watch
it is.
My watch is fake.
Where do you got it from? Chinatown?
Yeah, from China. I imported it myself, like my green card, like yours.
So you think B58 is it's definitely a competitive engine. There's not question.
So like, I have the option, right, to get like a G Series S58 and build it for the track. But depends what you're doing with the car. So if you drive the car every day, it's a car that you enjoy and you don't want to destroy in the track like I do with both cars that I have, go S58. You can make more power out the box. The fuel system is really good. It's much easier to make it go faster
Right.
versus our B58. The fuel system, you could run E40 out the box without
Dual high
upgrading
pressure pumps
anything.
already. The pump in the tank is
E40.
good.
You make good 680, 700 wheel.
On a B58.
No,
Yeah,
it's
like
S58.
650
Yeah.
on E40, you know? Then you upgrade fuel pump, put port, full 85.
now you're making
You make 750.
until
Then you run out of turbo.
Yeah, and you also stock block.
Yeah,
your,
but now
your brake ring lands.
yeah, now a B58 you can't do anything unless you upgrade the fuel system, unless you run, you know, another set of injectors.
Gen 1 or Gen 2?
Gen 2, even though I'm building a Gen 1.
Why did you decide to go Gen 1 and not Gen 2?
So, oh boy, I gotta be careful with this talk. I don't know if I should get into the topic, but I had this car already, right? This car was it sat with me for almost a year. I bought it from a customer, fixed it up. He had a blown motor, I fixed it up for him. And then he saw the car good and alive again. He's like, Doug, I want to buy the car back. I'm like, sure, 20 G's. Came, bought it. 6 months go by. And I told everybody, like, listen, there's a really good friend of mine that, because all of my guys were pumping me, you should build it, go, track car, quarter mile, you already have a drift car. I'm like, no, guys, I really, that stuff really doesn't, you know, I'm really not worried about it. And I have a good friend that's, you know, holding the record already, and I don't want to go in and compete with him.
Which is
Someone. I'm really not gonna get into it, but like
I'm sure that I know it is.
you know, I didn't want to go compete with somebody. But then a couple of things happened that I'm not gonna bring into conversation, but a couple of things happened that made me realize, why am I holding myself small?
I always say that. So
Why am I holding myself small? Like, the sun is for all of us. You know what I mean? Like, if you're doing a podcast, we're boys, and I have the chance of doing a podcast, are you going to be mad at me if I do a podcast?
man,
There's enough for all of us out there,
100%.
dude. You know what I mean? Like, the sun shines for everybody.
Competition
Right.
helps move technology.
So then I realized, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to care about any of that. Whatever.
you just do you. That's it.
This dude that bought the car from me reaches back out to me 6 months later after he bought the car. He's like, Doug, I'm in tight shoes right now. Listen, the car is not a priority for me anymore. It sits in the same spot from when I bought it. I just got married. I bought a house. I need to sell the car again. I was like, dude, listen, I really didn't want to compete with somebody because that is exact the same car. And I don't want to start any problems. I'm sitting in my computer. I have footage on the camera, me talking to this guy in my office. You could see me looking when he called. I went to look the other day just to like back myself up. Not to say I'm a liar, but this is literally what happened. So I'm looking on auction website, and I was gonna bid on a 240, a yellow 240. I was like, I'm gonna do a 240 instead of F30, just so I'm not having the same car, and shit's gonna start or whatever. And right when I was ready to click buy, he calls. I pick up. I gotta sell the car, man. I'm in tight shoes. I'm like, listen, I'm looking at a car right now as we speak, and I'm going to destroy this thing. It's gonna be a food track car. Never gonna run on the street again. And my budget to buy a car is no more than $10,000. He's like, come pick up the car.
So things happen
What
for
do I do?
a reason.
I went and picked up the car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I went and picked up the car, and
From there, we're watching history.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
So a second part will come when the car is done.
Yeah.
We'll come back.
yeah.
Interview you. You know, we'll give the sauce to all the B50 and all the SCP out there. So you gotta be realistic. That's it.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's a testament to your workmanship.
yeah,
100%. Because you're gonna build the whole car. So like you're putting together everything. But going back into the E46, I know before we started the podcast, you say you guys also do fabrication here.
yeah, yeah.
So can you give us a little more details into that? So so our viewer can say, you know what, if we want anything done for our cars, we can go to Doug BMW, so they can reach out to you. Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, we do fab work. Honestly, I do fab work more for myself because I know it's a very delicate job, expensive, time consuming, but I'm always willing to go the extra mile for my customers.
Okay.
If that's something that they want to do, they want to build a single turbo, they want to do a front mount intercooler, which a lot of people been doing to go big horsepower. They just get rid of the water cooled stuff. You know, we have the capability of doing. I don't really advertise, but I do it because there's not really a lot of money into it, and it's time consuming, you know, but we do it, you know, like my whole car, we did the whole entire thing.
But at your shop, you do general maintenance for...
General maintenance.
Only work on...
Only BMWs, specialize in BMWs. We build engines, 1,000, 1,200 horsepower. You want it, we got it.
This will be a stop.
The whole entire process.
Okay.
You know, from parts to building to fab, we give you the car ready to go. And we have our own tuner as well, which is a Brazilian guy from Avis.
Okay.
That's the shop name. Shout out to him, Avis. Andre, really good tuner, really smart. He does transmission as well, like nobody in the world has been doing. He holds all the records, you know, England, here in the US, the Supra that just, no, not the Supra, he did Shop CT, he did GND,
Oh, the
M4,
240.
he does all their transmissions, and that's who's gonna do my car,
Okay.
you know.
And as far as tuning, MHD or boot mod or
Whatever,
Ecotech?
we could do whatever,
Okay.
you know, we could
It's
do,
on the customer.
yeah, we could do MHD or Boot Mod 3. We could do whatever the customer decides to go with, you know. The tuner has, the tuner has the capability of working with them.
Awesome.
And so that B58 is gonna be doing some damage at the end of
Absolutely.
the year. Yeah, with it.
So next lane open for you and your new turbo?
Well, you know, I'm not building a B58. You are very sure. I think it should be open for you, not for me. I always like to get into these things. M54, right? Obviously S52. N55, B58, S58. I know every engine has like it's up and down. Now you have S52.
Ford.
What do you?
S54. Yep.
So what do you got to say about this engine?
So this engine is a really, really, really good engine because you don't need to do anything to it. The head flow is amazing. You could use the stock cams for boost. I don't have to go sourcing stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 cams. Stock cams will make up to over 1,000 horsepower, no problem.
Oh, wow.
But they do have a problem with the cylinder walls, depending. You know, if you abuse it, if you want to do like a stroker and stuff, then you start cracking the cylinder walls on it.
How about valve train?
Valve train, believe it or not, I have stock valves, upgraded springs.
Okay.
Just upgraded springs and titanium retainers. But
because because when you're drifting, you're taking it up to what RPM? You're shooting it
about
to the moon.
80, 81, 8200.
And that's where the car,
And
that's where it lives.
And I sit there,
Yeah.
I sit there because I like to hear it. I'm crazy in the head, you know, like I'm fucked up in the head, but I like to hear it.
Okay, what about M54 though?
N54.
Do you even like to work on N54? Because I know a lot of shops, and I have said this before. I'm sure you probably see one of the.
I'll be quite honest with you. I like my customers. I hate the engine.
Okay.
Because it's because like you come to me, right? I like all my customers. I have a friend relationship with all of them. And I'm like, man, I really don't want to see you spending money. I don't want to see you here every week. And they're like, nope, I want to go all out. I'm like, all right, let's delete the DI. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's delete the high pressure fuel pump because deleting DI, you're deleting that anyways, you know, and then you're going to have a killer car.
Yeah.
Actually,
Are you just doing port in your project?
no,
Oh, okay.
no.
So you keep them both.
I'm gonna keep the eye just to drive around the pits and idle the car. You know.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
But yeah, I'm gonna have some fat injectors on the PI for sure. And
So fat. Okay,
But-
so yeah, going back to the N54.
so the N54 works really well, but you just have to dump a shitload of money in it.
All right.
You know, you have to fix all those kinks because it's the first direct injection motor that BMW came out
Right.
with. So there is flaws. There is, you know, they did tons of upgrades on the injectors. Like they came out with another set. Like, oh guys, we're fucked up here. This fuel injectors, they don't work. Let's come out with the Index 12. It's good until they're not. You know, they also fail.
What about S52 though?
S52 is a little bit older than this one.
Right.
Works really great. Great motor. Out the box, you don't even have to open the engine. You could boost it, make 500, no problem.
That's a fun car to drive to.
Yeah.
36 M3.
Yeah.
That car is really,
Yeah,
really fun.
we built one for he actually had the motor already. We just swapped the motor back into it for one of my boys. Really fun car, really nice car. And then we did the N54 as well for one of my good friends. He's in Brooklyn, and he's gonna be at Bimmer versus the World, probably at my booth because the car came out so clean. He's on he's not on Cyvex. He's on ECU Master, I think.
Is he gonna be drifting?
No, he's gonna be at the drag.
Okay.
But he spent $50,000 with me on the car. It's a beautiful car. We did everything. 488 in the rear, like we did the whole entire car. You know, he came to me. He had just got into cars. I don't know the
So
shop
you just
name.
and you just freaking built them a
No,
monster?
actually, he came kind of built already. So he had just got into cars. He went to this shop in New York. I don't even know what shop it is, but he was having problems with the car. The car would misfire. The car would have vandals codes, and we kept trying to help him and figure it out. And we just became friends. I liked the kid, you know, and I'm like, man, listen. We're gonna have to start from zero. We're gonna literally have to take everything apart and start from scratch. I take the motor out. I had pistons
were backwards?
flipped
Yeah.
backwards.
That's crazy.
Three facing one way, three facing another, and the valves were hitting.
Yeah.
And then I take the cams out. There's a Teflon O-ring on the cams. That's where oil pressure comes, you know, to the vanos. Those O-rings were in there. So like we got the misfire figured out, which was a piston mounted backwards. And we figured out the vanos issue, which was cams installed with no O-rings. That would never work. So we built him a really good car,
Okay.
you know, and we
SVA?
cleaned everything up. No, N54.
Oh, okay.
N54, yeah.
Wow.
Good. Well, and I know, unfortunately, there's a lot of shops out there that are just money grab, but taking the time, and we already see your passion with BMWs. The last thing you want to do is steer somebody the wrong way.
Yeah.
So it's very hard these days to find somebody that you can rely on.
Yeah, it starts with money, right? Because business is you need money to run a business, but it becomes to a point where I take everything personal. Like it's my what would I do if it was my personal car, and that's where I lead my customer towards. You know, like no, I'm gonna do this. Forget about the money. Let's chase perfection. You know, and that's what I do. You know, I chase perfection every time. Like I'm very finicky with stuff. And I even have fights with customers all the time. They're like, no, but I don't want to spend the money. No, but then I don't want to do it. If it's your way, I don't want to do it. It's not going to work. It's going to work this way that I'm telling you. I've been there before. You want to do it? We're going to do it this way. And then, you know, they agree, and they sometimes couldn't be happier that they agree on, you know, doing it
Like
that
the
way.
saying goes for a mechanic, you're not paying for that 30-minute job. You're paying for that 10 years worth of experience.
Exactly. Exactly. But once I get into something, man, I even forget about the money because I've had many instances like this N54 that I'm talking about, for example. Like, we spend so much time on the car that I forgot about the money. I'm like, no, let's spend a little bit of
And get
extra
him on the
time.
road.
Forget about putting that on his invoice. I want the car perfect. He already paid for this. Like, we're not making this
You're not gouging
something
him.
obnoxious,
Yeah.
You're not doing it just because of the money.
expensive. No, I'm
You're
doing it
just-
because
The
my
passion.
name is on it.
Yeah.
You know. So that's how things should be done. You know.
But what about N55? You know, we're forgetting about N55.
Yeah, N55s. They're good motors.
You see the hesitation in his
Yeah.
eyes?
I don't see people people don't
Building.
really invest in them like that.
Yeah.
I do have one customer though that built a single turbo N55. Holds up really good. You know, he still has the DI, has port. Holds up really good. It's a lot better. The DI system is a lot better than the N54. BMW learned a lot from that engine, and the things that failed on the N54, they kind of improved on the N55.
Well, that's where that trickles down that to the now the B58 and S58 and
Oh yeah,
the fuel system is so.
that's a whole new ball game.
All right. So, I'm not going to get into B58 because we already know. So,
Yeah.
for anyone out there that are looking to build a drift car,
Mm-hmm.
can they reach out to you and say,
No.
okay, all right, so just reach out to me, guys. That's it.
My initial thought when I built this car, it was a hobby, but then I was like, man, how can I put my name out there and make money with this thing? And man, I probably done one car that came from this car. You know what I mean? Like
That's the other
drifting.
question that I
There's
was.
not really money in drift cars. To be
Yeah,
honest.
because most of people feel like they just build the car itself because it's not like
Because it's just crazy. Like, think about it.
It's a big commitment.
Yeah,
for-
think
for a
about it. How
customer.
long it took me to build this thing, like hundreds of hours in
Yeah.
it. How am I going to charge that to somebody?
Yeah.
There's no way of charging it. And I have 100 grand in parts in here.
I mean, most
Alone.
people today they want to drive and enjoy it,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and see their money not fall
Yeah.
out of their pocket so quickly.
Well, you want a drift car, you better start learning how to work on cars because you're going to need that knowledge. You know what I mean? You're at the track, you're by yourself, you're going to have to change your own tires unless you have a crew that's going to come out with you and change it for you, which I do have now. But weld the diff, put an e-brake if you can, small mods, and send it. Bump up the tire pressure. If you don't have power, if it's a low horsepower car, bump up the tire pressure as much as you can because it's going to slide easier. Weld the diff, send it. Put the e-brake, and learn how to change tires.
Next week you're gonna see a bunch of kids on the paper. I saw on YouTube. I put it down to 50 pounds so I can slide. That's what Doug said.
well,
My front tires, I run them really high sometimes. I run them at like 45, 50 PSI because you want a little bit of slip on the front.
Right.
You don't want the car to pivot the front and then it
Yeah,
just
once it
plants the
gains
front
traction.
tires and then it spins.
Yeah.
You want it to slide a little bit. So,
Yeah, not like this guy.
Listen,
Donuts.
I don't. Well, that's why I come to the professionals so they can who can tell us something. Well, I think I just want to say thank you for taking the time.
yeah, no, guys, thank you for coming.
So I think it was a really really great interview. I can't wait to see the video out. Where can they reach you?
So you guys could reach me on my Instagram. It's Doug M BMW. Doug M BMW. It's my initial, Machado. So on there, you're gonna see the phone number to the shop. You're gonna see a link where you could request a quote from us. Basically everything that you need. It's on Instagram. It's on my bio. Just click and
And
the link that's on
for the
there.
shop?
The address is there as well. Everything.
we're
yeah.
what
we're,
town?
we're in South Jersey, New Jersey.
There's a point of reference for it.
The town point of reference would be the military base, Fort Dix. We're like right behind the base. It's like 5 minutes from us. And the new shop will be roughly about 10, 15 minutes from Six Flags.
Okay. Of exit 2?
No, I think it's six.
Six.
I think it's six. Yeah,
I went too far south.
6 on Turnpike,
Okay.
Cream Bridge.
Long Island.
This shop will still exist. We're still, planning on what we're gonna do here. Probably an alignment shop, entire shop, but we're still gonna keep this shop alive. It was the first one, so it's hard to let it go.
Expansions.
Yeah.
So
Well,
shout out to you.
thank
shout
you.
out to everyone that support us. Shout out to all the media. Shout out to my poor host that he's building a slow 50A.
Come to the end performance. I got you. I'll make it faster.
Catch us Bimmers United April 12th. Cannot wait for that. Doug is gonna be drifting over there. All our media members are gonna be over there. Hopefully Chin is gonna be racing over there. So stay tuned. Just want to say thank you. We really appreciate the love and support, and we appreciate everyone that it's reaching out to us to get interview. Or we're reaching out to them. We wanted to show to the BMW community shops that build cars, shop that build drift cars, shop that build fast cars. We want to show all the love that we have for this brand. Because it's amazing. It is insane what BMW has built. And yes, not sure if anything. Want to say anything?
All right. I just want to say thank you to our sponsors and thank you to Doug for having us here and hosting us.
You're very welcome.
But again, guys, like, comment, subscribe. When you do that, you help our channel grow, and hopefully we'll get to share more stories of everybody who has a BMW and then some.
Yeah, that's the military base.
C-130? Is it C-130? That's
Well, Least but not last, we have Chaisty Mikey. I'm sure that he's ready to say something today. Guys, so you ready to talk? You think,
Hey, listen, I'm 32 years old. Where do you get that I'm a 45-year-old man wearing a shiesty? I'm a YN at heart. Don't forget it. All right, that's all I got to say.